Hey guys, it's those one guys 758. We're back here with another discussion here, another episode of the Discard Pile. We'll make the introductions a little short and quick. This is our second episode, so again, with numbers comes quality. I'm Tim. Uh, Tonight we have me, Kyle, and Tommy. You guys want to say hey?
What's up?
Hey,
So let's go ahead and check the Discard pile and see what we like about it this week. Um, the Everybody was talking about like Monday or so the new policy guidelines that came out for the card game. Um, what do you guys think about the whole new policy thing? We're not going to dive deep down into it. Just as an overarching in general thing, what do you guys think about it?
Honestly, I don't really think it's too big of a deal. Like it's all decent, except for, in my opinion, the individual counters like need to be symbolized by other objects. Like you can't just use a die to indicate five counters. It has to be five different like die or some sort of other item. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's a little irritating, but I could see. I wonder if they're doing this as an attempt to maybe um, produce their own licensed counters.
No,
Uh,
I honestly I feel like it's probably more of an attempt actually um, to prevent accidental things like somebody bumps the table and suddenly the dice are on a different thing and nobody knows what they were on or can prove what they were on. As opposed to if you have six counters on and you bump them, sure the counters are going to slide off, but you know that all those were on that card. Um, the Honestly though, it's really not that big of a deal. You don't have too many cards that are used right now that use counters, other than like Pendulum Magician, really. So I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. But I think honestly, if they come out with more cards that require counters, they'll probably change the rule back, just because it seems like a huge hassle.
Right. But I was thinking it would be actually cool for them to produce like a little punch out, either plastic or a nice style of cardboard with a spell counter design, a universal counter, a Cloudian counter, some of the other miscellaneous counters that we've come to see in the game because they have all the way down to nut counters. There's a squirrel that produces nut counters, and you can take your nuts off your squirrel.
I mean, honestly, if anything like that were to occur, it'd probably be player made. Like somebody would probably use, because you can make like pogs. I've had a friend that made pogs for D&D to like symbolize the characters of different monsters, and it's really easy to make. And people are probably just going to make those ones and sell them online. Like honestly, that's probably the most likely thing to happen.
When is the last
yeah,
time?
the Konami, they'll license their own counters, and then they'll make a rule about using non-Konami issued counters.
Right. Outside of
I
that,
mean, right now, based on what I can understand, like there's nothing specific as the rules go. Like you can use rice, you can use whatever you want to do that.
Yeah,
right,
just
like 2 seconds ago, Tommy said something that gave me a total flashback to the late '90s. Who,
Pogs.
yeah, who remembers Pogs? Like, that was an actual like a battle game, and I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think,
I played that back in the day.
yeah, I didn't. I just like these things were awesome. There was a whole bunch of designs. It made my like 8-year-old mind think it was tripping on LSD before even knowing what any of that was. But no, yeah, I have a feeling they're gonna really. It would actually be cool if they released some really nice, um, plastic counters. So for a spell counter, it has the little spell counter design in it.
I
Uh,
mean, they've already started the Dragon series collection. They brought out the dice.
yeah, well, they had dice before we got back into it during our hiatus that they
Yeah, I
had
know, but
at some like YCS stuff that had the different attributes and things. But and then the double sleeving that was a big thing for some people. The whole being able to get that extra form of protection. What do you think about that?
I'm surprised it took them so long to do what every other card game's doing.
Yeah, I this comes up this brings up something that we're going to get into here in a little bit, but I just wish there was a decent quality of English made because a lot of those oversleeves are all like you gotta spend like $8 on a pack, and they're all a lot of them that I were looking at this week were overseas, which I don't have an issue with. It's just when I want to order something from either my LGS or online, I'd like it to get here kind of quick. You know what I mean?
I mean, so far I really haven't felt too much of an impact. Like, I'm not to the point really that I care too much about double sleeving. Like, I double sleeved in Magic all the time, but as of now, like, I'm just so used to Yu-Gi-Oh being single sleeve that, I mean, eventually I'll probably end up doing it, but as of now, it doesn't really matter to me.
I
And
mean, double sleeving the extra deck will be nice because that's where most of the money's at.
right, that and we also use expensive shiny picture extra deck sleeves, and we don't want to ruin those. Um, but another thing that was on that list was this whole edition of the Yu-Gi-Oh Neuron app, which I actually finally figured out how to get mine fully set up a couple days ago, and I'm pretty proud of myself. Um, but one of the things with that is you gotta, if you're gonna use the calculator function, you also have to maintain paper copy in case the app messes up. That's a little bit of a letdown, but I guess it's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to tournament standards, like, I mean, pen and paper, that's just kind of, it's always going to be around. It's the easiest way. It's essentially foolproof. As long as you're keeping life points properly, it's impossible to forget where you're at.
Well, the Neuron app keeps logs. It's something that you're not. I don't know if you've messed with too much since you're more recently returned than Kyle and myself. It's a companion app that's Konami licensed, and it you can do timing and all the offline features. It keeps a database of all the errata of the cards, so you can turn on your camera, scan a card. It'll give you, and it does it based off the picture.
Yeah,
Um, in
they'll
case
let you translate.
yeah, in case you're playing against somebody who has foreign cards. Um, it'll give you the English, it'll give you the newest card text, and that's all an offline feature, which is now legal, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
should probably download that because honestly, like, I've heard of it. I've never gotten around to actually trying to use it.
You can
and then you can print off your registration list for regionals or any high or
yeah,
tier events.
you can also do that on Dueling Book, which Kyle and I have done a couple of times. Um, but with the double sleeves, do you have you guys seen those ones that have like the pretty cool design if you put them on technically backwards, um, and it kind of accentuates the picture of the card? I think that's kind of cool.
Are you talking about like the corner thing where it just has like a little bit of like filigree type stuff on it?
Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's all right. I mean, personally, I don't like it that much. Like, it's a stylistic choice, and I just don't prefer it.
you would be all right if the card was just a piece of cardboard with words on it and no artwork at all.
I don't know because like there are certain archetypes where when you're looking across the table, especially right now when you're sitting 6 feet away from somebody looking across the table, and the only way that you know what cards they're playing is the pictures. Like yesterday when I played against the Pendulum Magician, honestly, they all kind of look similar to me. And so I'm sitting there trying to like figure out what pendulum he just put in the pendulum zone. Cause I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Cause like I
See,
know kind of what they are. Like I know what Endymion is, but like I couldn't tell the picture. So I'm just like, oh man, let me read that. And I look at him, oh, it's just Endymion. Okay.
right. So on that note from yesterday, we played locals at our local game store here in Columbus at Heroes and Games. We'll put a link to their website in the description. It's a really cool shop. The owner, his name's Doug. He's a fantastic guy. You can get all of your card game paraphernalia, your Yu-Gi-Oh, your Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and Dragon Ball Super, and they also do Hero Clicks. This is not any kind of sponsorship or anything. We just really love this store, and also they have a huge comic book following. But last night was the Friday night local that we do. There were 3 rounds. There was only 8 people with COVID concerns. It's spatially uh, safe. Everybody does their due diligence, wears their mask and everything, all that mumbo jumbo. I ran in for Noble last night. I went 1-1-1. What'd you guys do?
I ended up winning it, going 3-0. Went up against 2 Infernobles and Pendulum Magician.
Well, that doesn't tell anybody what you're playing.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's not important. It doesn't matter what deck I play. I played Virtual World.
Right. We'll get you guys a deck profile on that. What we're going to try and do is that each one of our locals will try to get the winner's deck profile. Kyle, what'd you end up playing last night?
I ended up playing Altergeist. I only went 1-2.
What?
I faced Infernobles, Harpies, which I beat, and then Pendulums.
Right. So I played 2 Infernoble and Harpy, and if I would have been playing into time, which I hate the new time rules. If I would have been playing in the time, I probably could have taken the match as you guys were talking to me afterwards. I've done that to myself so many times to where I would have the enough damage to get myself over the hump, play into a combo, finish time, and then just take the round. But I find it to be a little um, petty, I guess. A win's a win. Don't get me wrong, but I guess I stand on a moral high ground that I need to get off of. So at Heroes, like we were talking about, we can get all of our all the stuff that we want for card gaming. Um, I've actually talked to Doug. He's the owner there. He's trying to get custom mats made, or not really trying to get them, but like he's entertaining the idea, which would be awesome. Um, Going off of that, what kind of card support supplies do you guys like? What's your favorite brand of sleeve? What the best kind of playing mat that you've had? Kind of binder that you enjoy? Deck box? What do you guys like? For me, I think I've settled right now, at least, on the Ultra Pro Eclipse Pro Mat sleeves. I think they are, to where it's a color on the outside, and no matter what the color is, it's black on the inside. They seem really nice.
Well, I'm gonna have to defer over to Kyle and you honestly for this because all the sleeves that I've used since I've come back into playing have been provided by you guys. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it.
Well, you can even use your magic experience in this.
I mean, when I played Magic, I'm pretty sure I went dragon sleeves most of the time. But like, I didn't really have too much of a preference as long as it's matte back. Like, that's pretty much all that I really care about.
I I've kind of went on a little bit of a personal mission here within the last several months. Kyle and I have went and we've tracked down different kinds of dragon shield sleeves to where they were matte back, gloss front, matte front. We've tried different kinds of ultra pro, be it the regular, the pro up series, or the eclipse series. We've even tracked down some Ultimate Guard Japanese size sleeves, which in Columbus there's only one store that we can find it at, and it's a bit of a pain because they don't carry a lot of it in. And those ones for Magic the Gathering players are kind of reminiscent to the katana style sleeves. And my beef with them is some of the color variants. The back can be see through, and if anybody has ever seen a judge at a regional level event or higher, know that if you have anything wrong with your sleeve, you're either going to have to buy new sleeves or just leave for the day because you'll get hassled the entire event. I feel that Dragon Shield, for the first, I don't know, 20, 30 games you play with them, they just stand too tall. There's too much air in them. They're too thick. The shuffle is not the greatest. Um, I haven't found a sleeve that ticks all of the boxes for me. Gives you good color options. They feel great. You got the good protection. They look okay. That's why right now I'm gonna stick with the Eclipse Pro Mat from Ultra Pro. How about you, man?
I've been enjoying the Ultimate God sleeves.
Yeah.
They they seem easy, shuffle, doable.
Yeah, they do seem durable, and they don't get that. I will say that they don't get that like gritty dark dust um, buildup that some sleeves, like some old Ultra Pro ones, would get. The only issue with them is accessibility. Trying to order them online is like $15 a pack, and when we get them at the store that shall not be named, is they're like $5 there. It's just trying to get there, see if they have it in stock, and then see what colors they have that are not teal or sand. What do you guys like in a playmat? Do you guys like having card zones? Do you like a cool design? What do you like about? Do you want a cloth mat, a fabric mat, or do you want stitched edges? I know for me, I really enjoyed the Force of Will mats from that game. They were high quality cloth, stitched edges for durability. They didn't, when you unrolled them, they didn't try to roll back up. They would flatten out nice and neat.
I like something to put on the table so that my cards don't get as dirty.
Right,
Um,
Tommy, the ever so minimalist.
I honestly like. I have a bunch of mats, primarily magic mats, honestly, and they're fine quality. They're whatever. I also really liked the one mat that I got from Force of Will. It just feels really nice. Good artwork on it. Um, Honestly, I like the card zones just because I'm kind of, coming back and still getting used to the whole link thing and wrapping my mind around all that. So having the card zones just kind of makes that easier on me. It's not necessary, but it's nice to have, and I think it looks fine. Um, yeah, as long because it just overlays. As long as just straight up overlaid the card zones onto the artwork, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I prefer match with the zones
Right.
just to easily identify what zone and each card and the link zone, extra zones.
Yeah.
Because cards like impermanent trail, it matters what zone
Right.
that
And
card in.
so, and when we play in person at one of our houses, we use this two-player mat that we got from a friend of ours named Matt, which you guys will possibly see. We're working on a rig setup to film live duels. We're gonna get some of our buddies to come over post COVID and get some content for you outside of just the replays that you see in the Discord pile. But I like the two-player mat just because, I mean, yeah, it takes away from the whole individuality, but piggybacking on what Kyle says, the whole knowing where things are, if the mat's connected, it's beautiful. You know which zone is what. Um, and currently, right now, I've been using this awesome Dark World mat that we had made from Pal Manga Mats on Facebook, and it's an acceptable price, but the only issue I find with it is after I take it out of the mat soup, the corners still want to curl back in and roll up. What do you guys think on multi-person mats?
I like them. They're fine. Honestly, if regionals end up just doing a giant mat for the table, I wouldn't be mad at that.
No,
Well, right now the only problem I see with that is because of COVID. Until all this
Well,
stuff blows over, just having individual mats is pretty much necessary.
well,
yeah,
yeah,
we're
but
talking in the sense of post-COVID.
Yeah, like once all that's over with, I think it's fine. It seems like more of a hassle because if you come to an event and like assuming that you bring your own, odds are it's kind of probably going to go to waste because everybody else probably already has their own mat. So even if
Hmm.
you laid it out, then they're just going to be laying their mat over top of it.
Right.
So
I, I
it
do.
just seems like extra work to bring it.
I do
oh,
like.
oh yeah, that's why I said that, like if Konami like provided like the regionals a
Right.
giant mat for the tables, like 6 foot long
It,
mats.
if at each table there was already card zones on a mat to where you wouldn't have to bring your own, that would be an awesome idea. At least, especially for a top cut, if they wanted to try and save some money, if they made like 16 of the four-person mat like Doug has at Heroes and Games, he's got two tables side by side on one mat, and it's huge. It takes up an entire table, and that would be awesome to see. Just so clarity of card zones and column spacing, that would be pretty cool. So what have you guys been looking into this week on YouTube from the all the YouTubers, the Mcoles, the Cmos, the Farfas, the Cyber Knight opening channel, or MST.TV? Have you guys seen anything interesting?
No, I haven't actually watched many YouTubers this week.
I know this week's kind of sucked. I've been busy myself.
I mean, I've
um
been watching a little bit. Um, Nothing like there's nothing that really stood out. Just a few interesting deck profiles from like small local tournaments that MCOL is featuring.
yeah.
Um, Nothing like super special, like a few random crazy decks, but honestly, at a small local level, pretty much anything can happen.
Right,
Yeah,
did you see he posted a new stun profile for you?
Yeah, actually, I did watch that earlier today, and I always love stun decks being relevant. I didn't hear because I was kind of like I was walking through the store while I was listening to the video. I didn't hear like how many people were there, but it looked like a pretty standard stun deck, and it seemed like something I would probably run.
So there's a video that I've been meaning to watch from MST.TV about the whole virtual world misplays and to double check. I love it when he puts content out like that because, if you didn't know, he does judge when there is events, and I enjoy listening to, um, not not like a respectable judge, but a judge that kind of breaks things down to understand it and isn't just like, oh, don't say cost. Cost isn't a regular Yu-Gi-Oh term. Those kind of people. he actually tells you in detail what is wrong and how people are doing it and why it's wrong.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of those videos also because a lot of things have changed since I used to play. Like I used to know pretty much how everything worked, but a lot has changed since then. Um, and it's just nice getting those like small interactions because I was one of those players. Like one of his things was Virtual World. How when you send Yin Yin off of like a Gigi or a Lulu, then it wouldn't be able to trigger off the summon of that same card.
Mm.
And at first, when I was playing it, because I was playing on EDO Pro, and they had it working, or they still have it working, that I can send Yin Yin to the grave to summon a Lulu, and then the Yin Yin can trigger to come back.
On
And turns out that like it seems kind of back and forth right now, but the majority seem to be leaning toward it doesn't work,
right
and I would not have guessed that. So it's
now,
just nice to like to have an explanation of why it doesn't work coming from him, and just things to look out for.
if I understand it correctly, I believe EDO is an OCG simulation. I don't know if that's entirely true because the two servers are US and European. Um, but I think that's when they were still YGO Pro Percy. I think that's what it was, and I don't know if that's still the case. But
I
I
mean,
know.
a lot of the cards, even though they're out in TCG, haven't been converted over to the actual like card picture at least.
Mhm.
So like, I mean, like, because it's all still called Datascape if you're just looking at the pictures.
Well, they don't. They get the initial image from wherever the image is posted, and they don't ever correct it.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid, but I mean, whatever. It's a free thing, so
Yeah,
can't
it's
really
not
complain too much about it.
exactly. Um, I have noticed a couple things. I was playing EDO Pro earlier, and I don't know how to fully submit like a log, but I was playing against this guy who was using this Synchron deck. And little did I know he was being a dick because he was playing three Jet Synchrons and a whole bunch of other band stuff. And like I had the option to Nibiru like 6 times, and it would not let me select the Nibiru, and it was really frustrating.
Yeah, like I feel like sometimes you just can't do it for some reason, but you have to like turn on your
Oh,
always chain and just spam click to try to get the window to pop up.
right. And
Um, yeah, it's annoying sometimes.
And then, like Kyle was telling me the other day while we were at Heroes, that if you leave the always chain on, it helps you not forecast whether you have a hand trap or Nibiru in hand.
Yeah, like that's what I'm probably going to be doing this weekend, this coming weekend when I play in that MBT quarantine series thing. Just gonna have always chain on the whole time and just hope that I don't randomly accidentally click no on stuff. That's one of the most annoying things.
Right. So what you're telling us is you're going to be saving your replays from each round of that, and we'll just make a little special video dedicated to just your MBT tourney replays, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. Is I'm just going to have all those replays going, and I'll probably do commentary over them, and or maybe even all three of us can just do commentary together over them.
Right. That sounds interesting. What do you guys think? Let us know if that's something you want to check out. Because typically the way we're going to format these podcasts is just have random replays going on in the background, and you guys are more than welcome to submit replays to us. In the about section of the channel, we have our two social media posts. Feel free to get a hold of us either on the Facebook or the Twitter, whatever your preference is, and we'll definitely throw your replay up if it's pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean it's not like one turn you set four pass and then the other guy just quits. Um, Changing kind of pace a little bit, going back to real life cards and kind of what we feel about Konami. I was thinking about something the other day. You know, with all these subsets that are coming out, you got like Genesis Impact as a side set, and then Selection 10, and then there's another one that's after Selection 10. I can't remember the name, but I thought that kind of they're releasing, they're kind of flooding the product out. You know, it seems like something new is coming out every month, whether it's a reprint set, a side set, a core set, a structure deck. Um, and I wanted to know your guys' opinion on this because for me, it feels like you, as a player who I guess I would consider myself a budget player, it's kind of hard to keep up.
Well, so ignoring Maximum Gold because that was originally supposed to be released earlier, and just because of all this, like the COVID stuff, kind of got pushed back and happened to fall pretty much at the same exact time as Phantom Rage.
Hmm.
So that wouldn't really count as that. And like with their ban list, personally, like how long it takes, like you have 3 months of gameplay, and I like releases in between there just to kind of spice things up a little bit.
They
But the
usually,
closer you get to the ban list, the honestly, the more afraid I would be to invest in anything really, since I'm not great at watching the market. So like, you invest in something, ban list changes, suddenly it's dead, and you just wasted a bunch of money on it.
yeah, there's usually the core set, and then one or two side set or expansion set. Because right now we had Phantom Age, then we had the Spirit
The
Trauma Structure deck,
and
and
then
now and then after that we'll get in Genesis Impact, then
right.
Blazing Vortex. So usually those two sets,
I
extraction decks or expansion set, or two like expansion sets.
Well, I guess that's kind of nice because you're bringing a new money on sealed product, but I don't know if it's always the sealed product that people want because there was a couple of those side sets like Mystic Fighters and there was another one that had some of the waifu archetypes and some of the whole fan service stuff, but there really wasn't anything in there of note. You know what I mean?
I mean, Mystic Fighter had Math Mechs, Dragon Maids, and Generators. The Fist of Gadget, I think, was just a complete bust.
Yeah, that was another one. They could have released the Fire Fist stuff and something else, and
But then we had Secret Slayer, which was gave us two dominant decks.
right, and that one was a good one, and it's not very often you get a good side set. Like, I don't even know if Toon Chaos was worth the printing.
I think that was just for all the collectors rail.
Well, they're going to be doing that now in all of the side sets, which means when the Inzectors get reprinted, I'm no longer going to have max rarity Inzectors because Hornet's going to get, or Hornet or Dragonfly, one of them will get a collector's rare treatment, and I'm not going to be paying for that.
Yeah, but some people also just prefer to have the original printing. So like, yeah, you might not have max rarity, but having the original printing actually still holds its place.
If the card text doesn't change too much, because then you got to either carry your phone with Neuron or have one copy of the new errata outside of your deck box, um, which is kind of annoying in that sense.
I mean, that is true. Just like Swap Frog, I don't have three ulti Swap Frogs.
Actually, the most recent printing is Ultra.
Is it Ultra?
Yeah, it got reprinted when right before you retired from the military. Actually,
Oh, so it
um,
might be Ultra and not ulti that I was thinking of, or there
yeah,
might be both. I don't really
There's
know.
both.
yeah, they have an ulti and like it was a turbo pack or an astro pack or
OTS.
OTS, but I think I have like two or three of the ultra swap frogs just sitting in the bulk box.
Yeah, Swap Fog came out in
Dual overload.
Dual Overload.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the reprint cycle? Do you think that they're reprinting cards at an acceptable rate because it's a guaranteed reprint for certain things in each year's Megaton?
I mean,
Um,
they've reprinted Impermanence 3 times now.
in the last year and a half, yes.
Yeah. But
Uh,
then those cards like
like
um
Lightning Storm.
no, that just came out but like Magician Souls
Mm-hmm.
and like BLS.
Oh, the Blackluster link.
Yeah.
Um, so the Magician Souls is almost guaranteed a reprint because they're going to do another one of those legendary duelist season, whatever. Like they did with the first one, how you can get some cards and then they reprinted stuff like Millennium Eyes, which I'm still a little aggravated about, and Ancient Gear Fusion and stuff.
Which that just got reprinted, didn't it?
Yeah, it got reprinted in like this big bulk special legendary duelist season 1 where they gave Red Eyes Black Dragon a full name treatment instead of Red Eyes B. So um but I think having a reprint season, like like a quote unquote reprint season that they have, to where maybe end of the summer, beginning of the fall, you're guaranteed one of these legendary duelist season packs now, and then each year's Mega 10. So it kind of takes the mysticism away from getting cards, say like a tactical talents right now. If you want to drop $100 for, each one of those cards, or if you just want to wait 6, 7, 8 months and get them for 30 when they get reprinted, it almost takes the value out of having high rarity cards. You know what I mean?
Tommy's completely fine with that. If everything
Yeah,
came common,
rarity does not matter to me. I honestly prefer lower because it's cheaper for me to get a hold of. Because I love to bounce around between decks. I like to play a deck for a month or two and then switch over to a different deck. So the cheaper the cards are, the better it is for me in paper.
Yeah, but you also had decks that you used for years.
Yeah.
That is
So
true.
to those who have never played with Tommy, back in the day, he was the only person when Black Wings were big in the Synchro era and Wind Up was big in the Exceed era. He was rolling around with Glad Beasts and Final Countdown and Frog Monarch and Frog OTK because he's weird. And somehow he could take a deck that wasn't supposed to work, like Glad Beasts, in an era at the time where Glad Beasts were considered slow, and top a 162 person event and make top 8 with maybe 1 or 2 losses on his record. It's weird how he can take a dysfunctional deck, one that nobody thinks has any. I mean, nowadays it's Tommy will draw 17 hand traps in his opening 5 card hand, but he can just take something that is not supposed to work at this time. As long as he knows the deck, he'll make it work.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just don't think Glads are. They're not in a good position right now. Like back then, I played Glads almost every format until I quit. The only one that really killed it was what was it called? The Gemini Hero deck. Just utterly destroyed my Glads every time. There was nothing I can do about it.
Oh, the Neos Alias Hero Spark setup.
Yep. Yep. That was a pretty oppressive deck back then. Like just so hardcore control. Like Super Poly was ridiculous.
You know what was crazy is during like the middle of the 5Ds era, we went to this YCS in Columbus, and if me and Kyle's brother wasn't being a dick to Kyle that day, he probably would have topped with an unconventional deck with no extra deck. Tell them about that deck that you were playing that day, Kyle.
Was against the File Fist 3 axis or 4 axis.
Well, there was 2 different versions. It was 3 and 4 axis.
At Mermails, well, when those were the top decks, I was playing the anti-meta Injection Fairy Lily deck with Thunder King Gaio and Watt Giraffe.
Just trolling over everybody.
Yeah.
They'd have this $2,000 deck, and Kyle rolls up with Injection Fair. This is like 2009. No, not 9. It would be 2000, like 11, between 11 and 13, that era.
I'm pretty sure it's 13.
Yeah.
Because 2012 was Dino Rabbits and Plant Kaguri Plants and Machinas, I believe.
Right. And, I wish we would have known then about Heroes and Games to try and get that scene started earlier. That brings me to our next topic about the store. What is it about an LGS, from our experience from different ones here in Central Ohio to Tommy to your experience, across the country? What is it about a local game store that you guys like? For me, it's all about the atmosphere.
So for me, it's kind of a like it's really just a mix and match, honestly. Like it depends on what you're looking for at the time. When I'm trying to play locals and do tournaments and stuff, I like things that have good payouts and things that just feel like they're competitively worth playing. Like if you go spend 10, 15 bucks to enter into a tournament, 20 bucks, whatever, and you're actually like there's a decent amount on the line. Like if you win, you get like a box, and if you don't win, you get significantly less or even nothing. Like that ramps it up. It gives you a lot more interest in actually wanting to do good. So there's that when it comes to the competitive aspect or actually wanting to win. And then there's also like a card shop that I went to for Magic when I was in South Carolina. Um, it was just a really friendly atmosphere. Like it had a little bit of competitiveness. Obviously, you're usually going to have your two or three people that are really good at the game. Um, but like it was just a really friendly atmosphere, really like family like. We had a bunch of friends there. We were friends with the owner. It was a family run card shop, so it was like the owner, his son, his wife, um, and then also the son and wife, like their two kids were also part of it, and we were friends with all of them. So it was just really nice to go hang out and have fun with all of them.
I really enjoy it when the card shop owner has interactions with his players, even if he doesn't play the game. He is semi aware of what's going on, has conversations regarding it, takes a general interest in the person outside of them being a customer. And I enjoy it when, as I was saying last week in our podcast about how heroes, when Kyle and I first showed up, everyone was like, "Yeah, hey, this is what we do. Um, Sign up this time, be here this time. If you don't want to come on Friday, they do it on Saturday. Check it out." What do you like in a game store, Kyle?
If it can be a relaxed like area.
Because there was a time that you were telling us that when you were playing Magic, you were playing at different card shops 5 days a week. So
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
was
you,
playing like
you,
5 different card shop every day, different places.
right. So you have to have a decent sample size about what you like and what you don't like in an LGS. What are some of the things that you guys can't stand about some of the local game stores that you've been to?
I mean, for me, there's really not too much that I can't stand necessarily. Like, there's better ones, worse ones. My big one is I don't like going to card shops that just don't have a lot of people showing up. Like, if you're consistently trying to go play to locals, it's only like 6 or 7 people. That's really annoying. Because honestly, at that point, it's not worth it. Like, you play 3 rounds, you're always going to play the same person. Like, you're going to play against the same like 3 decks essentially,
Right.
which makes it a lot less fun.
Now, do you feel that way about our current situation?
I mean, right now, kind of, but also these are weird times.
Yeah.
And like having like a 12-person tournament, it's really small in my opinion. I'm not used to only having like 12 people, but that's kind of just how it is right now. Like I'm not too worried about it because, you just have a lot less attendance for pretty much everything right
Right. I hate it when you have a store owner just breathing down your neck, pressuring you for a sale. We don't go to these hobby shops to, I mean, yeah, we go there to buy stuff, but we go because it's a hobby. And I get, for a store owner, they may need to be making numbers and overheads and all this other number nonsense, but you gotta love what you do or don't do it anymore. So there's a store that we're not gonna actually name, but we've been essentially tossed out of a couple times because we were young, none of us were working, we didn't have any kind of income, and we would just go hang out, and we were asked to leave or give the shop owner $5 just to be in the store, and it's a turn off. It really is. And it'll cause a group of 6 kids to walk 10 miles to another store and start their own locals, which we did.
now. Yeah, good times.
We, yeah, which that also failed miserably. So, when it comes to those bad owners and those bad stores, there's got to be some players. Have what are habits of people that you've played against in the past that you can't utterly stand? I hate it when people are taking so long purposefully to do a minuscule task in the game. So there's a couple players, even at our current locals, that have shown up and they've taken 27 minutes of a 40-minute round to do something that they could have done in 10 minutes, but they purposefully are eating that time up.
Yeah, I mean, I am like to be realistic. I'm a pretty slow player. But even me, like, just playing kind of slow, like I like to think out my moves and make sure I don't screw things up. I definitely am not on the fast side when it comes down to it.
There's a difference between playing slow and methodical and purposefully eating up time so you can cheese out a win.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem with that is it's always been a thing and it's going to always be a thing. There's nothing that's going to stop people from slow playing. Um, it's just we could do what we can to minimize it, but if the people do it right, like there's no way to stop it. Like even calling a judge isn't necessarily going to stop it. But like I personally think that the new timed rules, yes, it streamlines things a little bit. Like it makes it slightly faster because you don't have those long turns where people are playing like super fast. Like, oh, sweet, now time is called. We have 3 turns. I'm going to take my time and really think this out, and it takes another 20 or 30 minutes, which is unfortunate. But I personally like that a little bit better because you can't have somebody that's like 1 turn away from losing, and then they just decide to slow play for the last 7, 8 minutes of the round, and then they're like, oh well, now it's a draw. But honestly, there's just nothing that can be done. Like you get your payoffs, there's a negative to everything, so that's just kind of how it is.
Those are different from taking your time to think of uh how you gonna play against certain cards that your opponent's playing, versus someone who's taking 30 minutes on a deck that they don't know how to play, and that's something they should have been practicing before coming to a event, especially regionals.
Or even just local. I get local isn't as much of a competitive scene, but when you go and everybody knows that it's your style to purposefully slow play, you have to do something about it. You know what I mean? Um, there was this one time we were playing, and this guy, I flipped out, and I told the shop owner, I said, "Listen, man, if you ever pair me up with, or not if he intentionally paired me up with him, but if I get paired up with him, just give me the loss. I'm not playing him. It takes the whole fun out of the game." I cooled off, and I dusted all the salt off my shoulder, but and I dried up my tears and got over it. It's just I was so livid at that time. Um, and then that brings up what's the worst player you've played against? Doesn't matter the card game. Uh, for me, we were playing in Springfield, and I was playing against this guy who was playing Pendulum, and this was during Danger Thunder format, and uh, he went off, did his full Pendulum combo, ended up with like 2 negates, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, yada yada yada. I was playing True Draco at the time, and I baited out his negates, went in the battle phase, dropped an evenly match, and the dude was flipping the hell out. It was fantastic. What about you guys?
I just hate when people will try to say, "Oh, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna play this card and win," before they like even take their turn. I'm just playing my turn, and they'll just talking their shit. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you don't have a hand trap. I win." I'm like,
I do
"Okay."
that to you all the time.
I mean, like that's kind of reasonable a little bit. Like if you're playing against certain decks like Infernoble, unless you have those go second cards and usually enough of them to combat the hand rips, odds are if you can't stop their combo, you're probably not going to win, which is why the decks are so good. Infernoble, Dragon Link, the reason they're so good is because they have all the extenders, they have the ability to push through some hand traps. But if you have no hand traps whatsoever, they're almost always guaranteed to full combo. And it's kind of hard to break those boards.
I mean, so yeah, I know that, but if I have like three back rows that still have cards in my hand, you don't know why I have, and I don't know.
I mean, like people being a little bit cocky, like it doesn't really bother me. Like if you want to be cocky, be cocky. Like it's whatever. Like that's not going to change the outcome of the game. Like if you want to be a dick about it, like that's not going to change the fact of whether or not you win or lose, unless you being like that tilts your opponent and causes them to misplay. So like that's the biggest thing. Like just you don't have to worry about your opponent. Just worry about your own thing and what your mental state is while you're playing the game.
It's funny you brought up the Infernoble thing because last night when I was playing Jeff, it was an Infernoble mirror match, and our first 2 games went as the following: he would draw his hand, I would draw my hand. He won the dice roll, and he would say, "How many hand traps you open?" He said, "I have extenders for 3," and I said, "Well, game 2." So we shuffled, we cut, we sided. I went first, game two, and then I said I have full combo plus four, plus two imperms. And he goes, "Well, I didn't open a single ham trap, so I don't have enough extenders." So when we went to game three, and we actually played it out, and it came down to me siding poorly against Infernoble. After playing this game for 15 years, I still don't know how to side deck.
Side decking can be hard. Like that's really the important thing. I kind of got my strategy down for my virtual world deck, but I don't know if it's even right. It's just kind of what I feel like is right and seems to kind of work. Like, I mean, against Infernoble, just I pretty much side out all of my beneficial, like non-engine cards. Like I just take like pots of desires and stuff like that. Like all those get removed going second for all of the hand traps in my sideboard. So then I end up like main deck. I probably have I think it's like 12 uh, hand traps, and then I end up siding into like another six. So then I just have like 18 hand traps going second.
So, one thing outside of the thoughts of cards is what we want to do with this channel. What do you guys? What would you like to get out of doing a podcast or a YouTube channel? For me, I would love not to make a living off of it, I guess, but to get acknowledgement for some of our ideas because we may not be the greatest players, but we have some good ideas every once in a while, and I find us to be quite funny. So I would love to be able to get on the role of some of those other guys who get sponsorships, maybe not from Konami, but say like a brand like Ultra Pro, if they were to, or Dragon Shield, that would be so cool to just get free sleeves or free product of some sort. That's what I'm in this for. What about you guys? What would you like to get out of this? Let me hold on. Let me rephrase that. I also would like to educate, not educate, but provide some entertainment for this community, which I'm not going to say it's lacking, but it's lacking a certain kind. The you got guys like Team APS, they do all the skits and stuff, and that would be fun to do at some point. But just some guys you can sit down, have a beer with, and just talk to. This is what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any specific end goals for it. Like, I mean, it's just kind of fun to post your content and have people viewing it and like see what the community thinks about what your opinion is necessarily. Because like you post up a deck list, especially if it's like a homebrew or something like that, it's kind of nice to just be able to post that on a channel where you know people are going to look, and then you can kind of start a discussion on that and find improvements for yourself, or see if maybe you inspire other people to try to run that deck.
Right. So I
And
get
that's just kind of nice, just like improving the community.
right. I guess outside of my vanity and my greedy desires, I really do enjoy the whole shooting the shit aspect of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends because like this, as of now, is kind of a more casual channel where we welcome the feedback. Like we want to get in touch with the community, and we really just like it's just a sharing of ideas. Really, is what's important, especially in times now where it's kind of hard to go to a locals and hang out with 20, 30 people because you pretty much just have the online community at the moment.
Kyle, what would you like to get out of this experience? Are you the guy that's like, yeah, fuck it, let's make a living off YouTube?
And that would be nice. I actually would like us to do some sketches uh, in the future. I think that they'd be fun.
Yeah,
Because I don't think this gonna be like super serious. I think we're gonna have some semi-serious topics.
yeah,
We'll
yeah. The one that I'd like to talk for us to do our next episode of the Discard pile is it's probably gonna get some comments if we actually get comments, um, uh, and we'll talk about that elsewhere. I think that one will actually get some feedback for, and I think it'll be pretty fun. So I think we're all in it just for the conversation aspect outside of my greed. The last thing I want to end off with before we call it a night is if you could make one card, realistically, if you can make one card for any archetype, it doesn't have to have a general effect, but if you can a style of card for any archetype or deck style, what would you make? For me, I would make a way to bring Zombie World from the grave that didn't involve barricade board blocker. Something like a metaverse, but graveyard. And it doesn't have to be necessarily for Zombie World, just field spells in general. Something that you can activate a field spell. Say if you got to pay life points a massive amount and you activate a field card that was in the graveyard, that would be fantastic. And I think it would be a great way to bring up some skillful strategies in this game.
For me, like I haven't really put too much thought into something like that. I got to go back to probably my favorite archetype of all time, and that's gonna be probably frogs. I would have to say.
I was going to say it was
Um,
Empty Jar.
oh, empty jar. Honestly, I never actually played empty jar. I played several alternate win condition decks, never empty jar. But I would say I just love frog support. Like anything that's pretty much frog specific, because like the more specific you make it, the more powerful you can make it. So just like a really nice like frog synchro, or another exceed that's just like requires 3 level 2 aquas or something like that. Just has a really nice effect.
They could probably use a link because I don't
Oh,
think
a frog link would actually be really interesting.
Or a competent fusion that you can like grave fuse or like bring
it
back
could be like just
banish material.
1 level 2 monster to make it.
Do
Now,
you,
barring frog stuff, I also would actually really like to see some sort of card that can bring the like Ultimate Herald or Herald of Perfection, like bring that back as a deck, like something that can actually make it worth playing.
there's another Herald of Perfection. There's like a Herald of Ultimate Perfection. It's pretty
Yeah,
garbage.
actually, yeah, I have those. Like, apparently, before I quit, I was testing those in my Herald deck.
What about you there, Kyle? If you can make one card for one type of deck style, what would it be, what would it be for you?
I have no idea.
You were talking about Fortune Lady. If you could make one card for a Fortune Lady deck, what would you make?
Fortunately, calling if that didn't have the synchro restriction, it probably could be playable.
So you would make another engine card that doesn't restrict a it doesn't restrict you for Fortune Ladies. Now, would you be okay if it restricted you to say you could only special summon spellcasters for the rest of the turn?
That that'd be fine because there's so many spellcast or um, support cards.
Right. So, guys, I appreciate your time. I know you guys enjoy doing this. So, this week's podcast is a little bit more of a dialed back. We kind of threw this one together. We're going to try and get on a weekly rotation. I appreciate the people who listen to this. Like, comment, subscribe. You guys know that whole deal. I know I said I wasn't going to do that, but um, as I gesticulate into a camera that's not turned on and a microphone that's sitting on the table, that's hilarious. But give us some feedback. What do you guys want to hear from us? What don't you want to hear from us? So I appreciate everyone checking out the Discord pile with us this week. So thanks, guys.